Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
It's hard to believe, but there actually is a direct line between wedding videographer and editor to feature film on Prime Video. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals in this audio-only experience, and we ask them about their current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I will assume that you do because you're listening. You can hear me. Please keep listening and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, gives you a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So please give us a like and subscribe there as well because we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Threads, the Blue Sky. There's too much. But we're in the seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest in the world of film, television, basically the movie image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. Takes a village to make a major motion picture, and on Prime Video now is a fun one. It's called Pretty Lethal, and it is from director Vicky Jewison, and it follows the tale of a group of ballerinas who try to escape a remote inn after their bus breaks down on the way to a dance competition. It is pretty gonzo. It's half Wick, it's half Hong Kong, a little bit of horror in there. It is a wild, wild 90 minutes, and it is a lot of fun. I cannot recommend it highly enough if for anyone who just wants to sit back and watch a bunch of prima ballerinas kick all kinds of ass. It's that kind of entertaining. But in advance of it coming out on Prime Video, like I said, it's available on Prime Video right now. We had the chance to sit down with one of the key players in the film, the editor, Mr. Richard Smither, and talked about how he got involved with the project and just the nature of putting something like this together, which is so action-oriented, but also really has this musical and rhythmic flow to it all at the same time. It really gives us some insight into the art of editing. But like I said, if you want to have a good time this weekend, fire up your Prime Video and fire up Pretty Lethal. It is tons of fun. But first, enjoy our talk with editor Richard Smither because, it's a pretty good one. And we'll see you soon. Obviously, man, thank you so much for the time. I mean, obviously, I really do appreciate this. I mean, I got to watch a Pretty Lethal last night, man. Fucking fun movie. Congratulations.
Ah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Fun is the most important thing, I think, with this type of movie.
I mean, that
It's-
dovetails into my first question, though, because obviously in your job as editor, like, I'm kind of curious when you get on board on this, because it really did feel like the whole film, not just sort of the action sequences, but even sort of the character arcs, were very sort of designed uh, almost with a rhythm to it that would have needed to have you there kind of early on. It's not something you could sort of edit randomly. You needed to be sort of there to understand sort of the composition of what was going to happen.
I was on from on an early stage because I'm lucky to have a great relationship with the director Vicky Jewson, who I've worked with twice before, who's just an amazing collaborator and brilliant director to work for. She's amazing. So we'd had a great friendship, and so I heard about this script 2 or 3 years before the film happened, and Vicky would come and we'd talk a lot about it. And it was obviously at that stage very much a comedy with these very zany characters. And then as Vicky was sort of developing it, we'd often talk about the story. So some of the stuff we were working on in terms of discussing of ideas was really expanding Devora's storyline a little bit. That Vicky was
Yeah.
working on that, and we kind of talked a lot about creating a kind of a B story to sort of counterplay the A story, which was the girls in the house hiding. So Devora's storyline kind of developed, and that helps the editing a little bit when you have that A and B story that are passing off between each other. and crescendoing at the end. Um, that was one of the main, and then also as an editor, you're kind of looking at how how things build in times of climaxes and how you're building the story to points that are things that you would do in the edit, but if you can get them at writing stage, that's great. And obviously, this is just discussions, and then Vicky would go away and work with Kate Foran, the writer, who's brilliant, and they would go on and develop it. And they had, amazing ideas also, and adding the whole thing sort of developed over a number of years.
Well, because I mean, that's the thing I really enjoyed about this because it really did feel like it was almost like a stage performance, like, spotlight over here, spotlight over there, and then it's kind of back and forth until sort of everything kind of merged, especially with Devora's arc and sort of the big climax that we had. And it's all flows in such uh like effortlessly, really. And I mean, I'm kind of curious, like especially from your end, does the job of editing, like, is it basically fine tweaking what is done and what is shot, or is there a question of you have to sort of be involved and go, no, there's probably going to be a cut here, there's going to be a cut here. Like, where does that kind of sort of participation land?
So if you have an opportunity to give notes on a script, that's a wonderful opportunity to feed into the what the edit would be,
Right.
so that you don't have to try and make something, which is never as good as if it's there originally. But when you're in the edit, what we'd do, and I'll do this with any director, but me and Vicky particularly work well on this, is this really cross-examine every single moment that's in the film. We'll go through it, beat by beat, and really look at as if does each moment earn its place? What's it doing? Could it be more effective? Is there a better idea? Is there something else we could do? And in doing that, you begin to sort of um, enhance the film, and create new avenues. So many times we're sort of cutting things down. We had a big kind of police chase at the end of the film. A kind of
Yeah.
Chloe and Zoe escaped the house and went off on a car and went away and then came back to the house. All of this story had to be condensed for running time and pace.
Right.
And that took a lot of playing with and discussion and back and forth. So really, I do really look at the edit as the rewrite, in terms of um, a third opportunity to really go at it and look at the script and the story and the characters and see if there's anything else you can do.
Well, and I mean, that's super interesting because I've got to imagine that definitely changes the dynamic. Because I mean, at least from sort of a public perspective, I mean, I think of the whole relationship between the filmmaker and the editor as like, okay, here's my movie, don't fuck it up,
Well, there
that
is
kind
that
of
too.
thing,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. You feel massively responsible because you're there to sort of, uh, look after that side and look after the director. That's, Vicky's also my friend. I want her to do well and want the film to do well. Um, and I want to do well. So I'm trying to sort of do my very best to make the best product possible that looks after the audience. Really, I'm thinking about the audience as my main preoccupation is being an audience member myself, and then thinking, what do I want to think? What do I want to feel? How am I, if you can tap into the audience member all the time,
yeah, for
um,
sure.
you're a good spot. If you lose sight of them, you're in trouble.
How important is it to have that dynamic with a filmmaker? Because I mean, again, I even think back to, Hitchcock saying he only shot what he absolutely needed, so the editor, basically had no say in the matter.
I think that's quite rare. I think maybe if you're certain directors have a really distinct vision, and also if you have a very high budget, sometimes you have to pre-plan everything, so things are a bit more rigid in how they're shot. Um, Old school, when you shot on film, you shot less material, so the options would be a bit less. Nowadays, you can have two, three cameras going, so the options get bigger, and you have a bit more responsibility to really find the path through the footage to the best film. Vicky is like a classic film director, though. She's like from the old school, and I love it. She has a point of view. She shoots, with an intention about how she wants things. She'll move the camera and shows you what she wants you to see. And that's the kind of films I grew up on in the sort of 70s and 80s. And I like that style where the
Wow.
camera's telling the story.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm
Yeah.
with you on that one 100%. And I mean, especially in some of the fight sequences. I mean, I think sort of the big, sort of climactic one in the bar. Uh, I can imagine you storyboarded the hell out of it, and just to really kind of piece together this thing that felt half Hong Kong, half operatic, really, in many kind of ways. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about sort of, I guess, the need for precision on something like that because it's not like a question of they're going to be shooting a lot of overages on something that's that tight.
They that in that particular fight, it was probably the most choreographed, and you can see that when you watch it in terms of how the
Yeah.
camera moves. It's very much designed. So I've got a job of I'm making decisions and I'm cross-cutting different moments, changing angles and condensing it. But it's very much a lot of it's in camera as well, which is really cool because it as soon as you see it, it's working. You see them, it's so designed and it's been prepared so well that you don't get in the way, don't muck it up. Really, it's finding a rhythm to it. One of the things we did was we took the music from the opening ballet. Originally, we had some
Yeah.
music when the girls were practicing, and we took that music and then we put it onto the bar fight. And so we started with ballet music, not your traditional score or a pop song or anything like that. It really was to ground it in the ballet moves to show you that they were going back to their training. And that was really fun. And that we sort of there was some toing and froing over music on that, but that stuck once that was on. Waltz of the Flowers, we managed to keep it. And then really you're trying to sort of just create a sense of rhythm, create tension in the fight. So if you go too fast on things, if you don't see characters think and have time to react, if you don't feel like if you can't see the blow coming, if everything's so fast, then you're not engaged. And if you're a bit too slow, then you're not getting the audience excited. So it's I like to feel like I'm inside the action when I'm editing it. I like to feel
Oh, I
like
love
I'm
that. Yeah.
yeah, I want to feel it. I don't want to be observing it. I want to be in there.
But
And it's
that
about
begs my next question though, because obviously music is so important in this film. I'm
yeah.
kind of curious because are you editing to the music or are you editing to the action? Because I can imagine that you're going to run into moments where it's like, oh no, I've got a half second too much here. Oh no, or I need an extra half second over here. How do you kind of strike that balance?
Almost entirely editing to the action and then manipulating the music to
Okay.
do that. So it's little repetitions of things, little breaks in the music to make sure that I can keep it. But I wouldn't ruin an edit for a music edit. I would always favor I try and find a musical solution. Sometimes you might want to move things a frame or two if you can, if it doesn't make the edit bad. But um, action comes first, and then the music has to bend its way around it. But if you are set edit in the wants to, if you've picked the right music, the rhythm of the music almost matches the edit, so things start to fall into place. Once you get a few things in place, you'd be surprised how many other moments start to hit beats and changes in the music where they get faster and slower.
Do you get to be on set on location, kind of getting dailies and working through rough cuts, or are you sort of 100 miles away and they're uploading dailies, that kind of thing?
On this one, I was at home editing, and Vicky was in Budapest with the crew. I did go out about a week before just to visit her for a couple of days, which was amazing. But no, I was at home. It's very different. I think it is good to be there. It does help if you're there because then you can answer questions and you get that easy discourse with the director. If there's anything she's worried about or you're worried about, you can just talk rather than it being end of the day phone calls and emails. But yeah, being at home can be good too. Sometimes having a bit of isolation also helps.
Right,
It
right, right.
depends on the film and how it's going.
From a visual standpoint, action movies, and I mean this one is no different, tend to have their own language. I'm kind of curious for you as an editor, like where does the, I guess, creative draw come in, the sort of the creativity, sort of the be able to sort of, I guess, learn this dance, as it were. I mean, pun intended, because obviously they're ballerinas, but it really does have this rhythmic sense to it throughout.
I think I was very lucky. I worked for an editor called Joe Walker who edits Dune and Blade Runner, and I sat next to him when I was an assistant.
There we
And
go.
he's the man really for me. And I got to and everything he was a composer before he was an editor, so everything with him is he's like the master of rhythm. So I definitely watched him. I wouldn't propose to be anywhere near that, but I got inspired by that. So I'm always looking for the rhythm in the footage, and I'm trying. It is a piece of music for me when I watch it. I'm trying to. I will rewatch things endlessly, and I tend to also watch something, go back to the beginning a lot to rewatch something because everything has its place in the overall holistic sequence rather than just
Right.
watching a little section. It has to feel part of the rhythm of the whole thing. So that's really where that comes from. I feel like that's my job. I want to make it feel like like a great song, when you hear a great song, you just want to hear it again and again.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
I think great films are like that. So, a film, when I was a kid, I used to watch Empire Strikes Back a lot, which is like one of the most rhythmic films you can watch. The musical qualities in that film, like John Williams' score, just like almost
Yeah.
is the film, it kind of, and Paul Hirsch's editing is part of the reason why that film I think is so good. So, yeah, it's a real draw for me.
No, I'm curious. I mean, this might be a loaded question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. On something like this, what is the ultimate sort of payoff for you? Is it the stuff that the fans notice and appreciate, or is it sort of the slighter little stuff where people go, "Hey, nobody caught that"?
Uh, I think I'm kind of proud of the dance sequences. They're quite tricky.
Right,
Um, they were hard to shoot for the director and the cast, because having actresses play like professional prima ballerinas is incredible ask. You can imagine how incredibly difficult that skill is to pass off. So with the edit, particularly the end dance, Vicky sort of shot the entire sequence in a day, which was kind of amazing. She was running around and getting all these brilliant shots. And then really, in terms of the dance background, Maddie has this, obviously is a world-class dancer. We've seen her in the Sia videos. And Lana had some ballet experience. The other girls were good, but they hadn't had maybe that amount of experience. So really, you're trying to sort of find moments that's of authenticity that sell the dancing, but then also cut round them, but not look like you're cutting round them. So it's sort of this, um, kind of, you're trying to sell the edit. While it is a comedy, so it's not strictly we're going to show
right,
them doing everything. You have a bit of a license to play with it. And then another thing was that on the end dance, the music that they were using wasn't the music that Vicky wanted to put into the end dance, which kind of, when she told me that, I was like, what? I was immediately thinking, well, how can something so intricate in the dancing match another piece of music? But it did. I learned something, and it was they'd used a click track on set, and then Vicky wanted something a bit more cinematic rather than a ballet song, a bit more
right,
uplifting. So I
right.
went into my music library and found some sort of thing I listen to when I'm trying to G myself up, and then put that on, and it suddenly became this sort of really uplifting, emotional ending.
Oh, for sure.
Uh,
No, it works
yeah,
perfectly.
yeah,
Now, I'm curious though, when she shoots something like this, and I mean, and you're, at home hundreds of miles away,
yeah.
like, are you having to sort of like do a rough cut and then get it back to them? Because I can imagine having to do like pickups on a sequence like that is probably a nightmare in and of itself.
It is tricky because they're moving so quickly, and also I
Yeah,
think in the first week they shot the opening dance, the end dance, and they were shooting some of the fight scenes. So I was having a lot of footage with a lot of characters in doing different things, and then once you've moved on, you've got a lot of the time it's finding a solution. You may be able to get a pickup if you're lucky, but if they're racing through things, I've got to find a way of solving this issue. How do I get
right,
from here to
right.
here? That's kind of it's somewhere between the two. You're trying to find, can I solve this without having to ask them to spend more money and time doing something? Um, we did pretty well with pickups. We had a few, but they shot really well. Bridget did a brilliant job, the DP. And it just, the film looks great. I think you can tell that from the production design as well as great. So
Oh, 100%, yeah.
yeah, it's got, it was a good crew.
No, I mean, obviously, as we've been illustrating, it takes a village to make a movie like this. And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
curious, what ultimately sort of drew you into editing to be sort of part of that village, that part of the village?
I got a job. I loved films when I was a child. I was either playing sport or watching films when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Um, and then but it was all in my head. I didn't have any practical way of showing it. It's just I had a vivid imagination for films. I used to have sequences, I could play sequences in my head. Um, I got a job in marketing when I was about 21, 22. Spent 2 years being very miserable, and I got my hand on a one of the early editing software that you could have at home. And I edited a wedding video, and I loved it. I didn't know why. My dad had shot it, and the family came over and they started crying watching it. And I thought, oh, maybe this is my thing. Maybe this is the thing that I could put my time into. And and it was that really. And then just also, I remember going to watch The Fellowship of the Ring in the cinema when I
yeah.
was in my second year of marketing, and blew me away. The film, the I remember there's a scene of where she's on Elrond's daughter's on horseback
Right,
riding
right, right,
across the
right.
ridge. I know her name because I off the top of my head, but it's gone. And I was just like, oh, I have to do this. I just have to get, I want to do this. I want to be involved in things like this. It just had reached the sort of place of your dreams and your imagination, filmmaking, like the Fellowship of the Ring. And I
Is
remember also, I quit my job and I was walking home and I went through Trafalgar Square and I saw Danny Boyle prepping for 28 Days Later. He was in
oh
Trafalgar Square
wow.
with his, yeah, no one recognized him, but I obviously was a huge film fan. So I was like, oh, that's Danny Boyle. So yeah, it was kind of a magical, it was a big journey, a big sort of time. Um, it was a big leap of faith because I was about 25, so I wasn't that young. I was always had a career, but I just had to do it.
Was that time in your life, part of that moment where you sort of recognized the artistry of filmmaking? Because obviously we all come to it as fans first, but at some point, especially when you get into the business, it transcends being entertainment, and you understand sort of the craft of it all.
It takes time, you know.
Yeah,
I remember going into the edit as an assistant, thinking I knew a lot more than I did. It's the classic, you know, because I've watched 1,000 million films, and I think I know a lot. And you know, I think I always had pretty decent story instincts, but I really didn't have. Beyond a few superficial editorial tricks, I didn't really have much idea about how to edit a proper film.
yeah,
And I think I worked as an assembly editor quite a lot for different editors, Mark Eckersley, Stuart Gazard, and Joe Walker, obviously. And then, you know, you're learning, and I just realized how much I had to learn. And it takes a while. I think some people pick it up, you know, within a year, they're off, and other people it takes a long time. And for me, certain parts were in place early, but rhythm was the big one, really getting that. Once I got that down, I began to really enjoy it. Once I could really dictate a rhythm on a sequence, and I worked on Industry season three. That was great because that was a real. It's all dialogue,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but you dictate the rhythm there with the dialogue the same way you would do with an action film, and that was really that unlocked things for me doing that, getting through that and getting to a place where I was, you know, loving the scenes and they had the crescendo to the dialogue and the managing the pace. So it's really my love of editing is really the music inside it, controlling that. That's really what gives me a thrill.
for sure, for sure. I love that. I mean, my friend, you've edited a proper film here, man. I had so
Ah,
much
bless
fun
you.
with it,
Thanks,
man.
mate.
It's on Prime Video now, and I mean, I think you've given hope to wedding videographers everywhere
Ah,
to sort of know that they can go from that to having a film debut on Prime Video. But I mean,
it took a
honestly,
while.
man,
It took a while.
congrats. Seriously, it's a hell of a piece of work.
Ah, bless you. Thank you very much.
You're very
Really
welcome.
kind
All
of
right,
you.
man. Talk to you
Thanks
later.
for your time.
Bye.
Take care later.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.